Hello and welcome to another Cup of Conversation on BRT2 TV. My name is John Ghazi, and on the programme today I have an old friend, a great man who I'm sure many of you will recognise. First of all, he is here under the hat of representing, or he's the head of the Turkish branch of the Association ATKA, which is the Association of Turkish Cypriots Abroad. But Kerem Hassan is a lawyer by trade, and also he is now more widely known in the TRNC as chief editor of Cyprus Today newspaper, which is the English language publication here in the TRNC that is very widely read amongst expats and locals here in the TRNC and abroad, those who subscribe online. So I'm very honoured to have Kerem Hassan here in the studio today. Welcome back to the programme, Kerem. It's been a couple of years. The last time I think you were here to talk about the Dawn Vigil, 20th of July. Can you remember how many years? Was that 2 or 3 years ago?
It's been some time, but just to make a small correction, I'm the chief reporter of Cyprus Today.
Yes.
And thank you for accepting me on your programme. It's a pleasure to be here today to obviously convey our messages and share our views with regards to numerous issues that's dominating the agenda of North Cyprus. I think it's been quite a number of years since I was last on your programme, where we did speak about the Dawn Vigil and the aims and objectives, and it was a fantastic organisation back then, and it's still continuing, of course.
It certainly is. So yes, you are, you corrected me there, you're right, you are chief reporter for Cyprus Today newspaper. But I remember when I first interviewed you years and years ago, and this was for another programme, not for the studio. I remember going out and about filming, and you were actually a lawyer then. You hadn't actually fully moved back to the TRNC, I think, and you were a member of ATKA. And so we've come sort of a full circle again, because today you are really actually, you wanted to talk about the association and about things that are going on, and of course your views about Cyprus and Cyprus issues. So before we talk about any of that, let's go back to the beginning. Now, you're Turkish Cypriot, you were born and educated in the UK?
That's correct. I was born in London, in North London. I was educated, went to the University of Hertfordshire, studied law there, practiced immigration and divorce cases. Having moved back to North Cyprus, I've been in media, I've been doing a lot of television work. I'm now the chief reporter in Cyprus Today, and this is my life now.
This is your life, and it's quite funny, isn't it? Because when we met, as I said, you were a lawyer, but now you're in the same business as me, you are in the media. How did that happen, Kerem? I mean, you were a lawyer. Obviously, when you were studying in the UK, you had aspirations to be a lawyer. That was probably your main thing. Did you ever think that you were going to be in the media then, when you were studying law?
As you know, working in this sector is a fantastic job to be in. You get to interview so many different people in the news trade. You know, you have a lot of different agendas which change every day. You wake up to the day not knowing exactly what's going to happen. 1 minute you could be interviewing a minister, the next minute you could be interviewing someone in charity work. A few hours later you could be interviewing someone with a property problem. A few hours after that it could be completely something unexpected. It could be an exhibition somewhere, and it's a very attractive profession, especially in North Cyprus, because you have so much movement, shall we say.
Yeah.
You have lots of different things going on in different parts of the country, different projects going on. You have Ercan Airport, which is being transformed into a fantastic international airport. You have different other projects in museums. You have all sorts of things going on. And this job was very appealing to me when they offered me a job originally on television to do news presenting and programs. Mm-hmm. I found it very daunting initially. It was a very big step for me to actually move to TRNC and enter into a field which I never thought of entering initially. But I've expanded. I hope I'm doing well in my career. I've chosen it to be my career. I'm very happy. I'm happy that I'm helping people, most importantly. Using your job as a journalist, you're actually helping so many different people in different fields. So it's a fantastic job to be in.
So how long have you been with Cyprus Today now? How many years has it been since you joined the team?
Since 2011, I've been in Cyprus Today.
Wow, so 7 years.
That's correct.
Amazing. So there you were, a young graduate from law in the UK. You decided to come back to... What brought you back to Cyprus, Kerem, out of interest? Because, you know, it's not normal or usual for young guys like us. I mean, I was a university graduate when I came 24 years ago to the islands. It's very rare. Normally people sort of like, they retire here. But the younger generation take it a little bit easier and tend to stay in the UK. So what brought you back to the TRNC after your education?
I think one word sums it up, and that's love.
Love of North Cyprus?
Love of North Cyprus, love of the people, love of the country. You know, you're born and brought up in London. It's a completely different system. It's a different way of life in London, and it's not easy for someone who's got used to a way of life in London to move back to North Cyprus. However, it must be in someone's blood to feel that need to live in a country where you feel that you belong, where you've moved and to do things for the people, to do things for the community. Not only just to live there, but actually be active work-wise, to use your work to help those people. And that's what brought me back here. It was a long aspiration I had to move here. And obviously when I got the job offer initially on television, I thought I would make use of it and see how it goes, and I've been here ever since.
And now you are mainly reporting for Cyprus newspaper. You're not on TV anymore, are you? Or are you?
Occasionally.
Occasionally?
Yes.
Maybe as a guest speaker to speak about certain
Absolutely.
issues?
I mean,
yes.
Obviously when you're in journalism, you are quite frequently invited to go on television programs as a journalist, or as indeed the Association of Turkish Cypriots, TRNC representative. You're invited to give views in regards to all sorts of different issues concerning Cyprus. It could be regards to Cyprus problem, to the views of Turkish Cypriots living abroad, to lobbying, to all sorts of things. So you are invited.
Really, your passion, your love for North Cyprus didn't begin here. It began back in the UK when you were a part of the Association of Turkish Cypriots Abroad, ATCA, because that's how I remember meeting you for the very first time. I think a mutual friend, Hadji Kerim Gil, introduced us many, many years ago, and we've been friends ever since. But have you always, I mean, I have to confess, when I was back in the UK, I never really thought about Cyprus, apart from as a holiday destination. Never thought about the problems on the island, never thought about 74 or 63 or whenever the troubles began. Until, you know, you move on to the island, then obviously it's, you know, you're part of your daily life. You know, the newspapers, the press, everyone's talking about the Cyprus issue, the Cyprus problem. It's still been going on for all these years. But you were more clued up. Maybe because you were studying law, maybe you had a social friendship group that maybe was into Cyprus, but you actually, you know, you're a big friend of North Cyprus way back when you were in the UK, weren't you?
Absolutely, yeah. When I was living in London, I was very active with regards to lobbying in different associations. We were involved with a group called Justice Euro, which was conducting a dawn vigil outside 10 Downing Street. Also, I was involved with the Council of Turkish Cypriot Associations back then, during the times of Ali Ratib, obviously different heads back then. We were constantly involved in Turkish schoolwork. I was also a folk dancer there. I used to go and represent North Cyprus at different international fairs, tourism fairs, property fairs. They would invite us onto the stage as a Hornsey Turkish school to dance. Also, Ali Rıza Dermencoğlu Turkish school. So it was a time for me when I was learning my culture as well as trying to integrate myself into British culture, British society, whilst continuing education and appreciating obviously your Turkish Cypriot roots as well, and at the same time trying to do some lobbying on the side, voluntary work, trying to help the country, trying to help the community, organising rallies. As you know, we do many rallies in London, it still continues today. To commemorate the 20th of July Peace and Freedom Day, to commemorate the 15th of November, the TRNC's birthday, and so forth. So this is the kind of upbringing I had, shall I say.
And again, I remember that time, and I think we had a one-off meeting, again in my studios here at BRTK, where you were, back then, the British head of ATCA. Then we had Serkan Hussein Australia, and MJet was in America, wasn't he?
You have fantastic memory, John.
And didn't all three of you come to Cyprus at the same point? Or two of you?
We have never been in Cyprus, all of us together. So right now, our UK representative is Mehmet Hussein.
Yeah.
Australian representative Serkan Hussein.
Yeah.
Emjet Tash, who is in the United States, and Hatice Kerimgil, as you said earlier, she's our coordinator. But we have never been in one country together.
I think maybe was it you and MJet then or something?
That's right, yeah.
I think me and MJet was too far away.
Me and MJet were in TRNC.
I remember inviting you both onto the programme.
That's right, we have been, yes.
So at least 2 out of 3 of the...
We have yet to do that.
Outside.
All of us all together in one place
We'll have
at
to,
one time.
yes. That'll be a major coup for us at BRT if I get all of you here. But
it will be a big thing for us as well, John.
It would be a big thing. So how did you get involved with ATCA? I mean, in particular...
ATCA, Association of Turkish Cypriots Abroad, was formed in 2003 using the slogans of respect, equality and recognition for the TRNC and for Turkish Cypriot people. We have 2 main objectives. The first one is to unite the Turkish Cypriots living abroad, to organise them and to act together with regards to lobbying and making the just cause of Turkish Cypriots known to international actors, especially. As we all know, we are living under isolation and there is a human rights issue. I mean, ATCA is a human rights organisation, and in many of our letters that we write, we refer to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights 1948 with specific reference to Article 2, which says that it matters not the political status of a country. Every human being has a human right which needs to be respected, and we constantly lobby for direct trade, direct flights, for our youth to be able to participate in sports tournaments and so forth. So that's the first objective. The second one is, as I said, we respect and we lobby for the TRNC. So we want to be the voice as much as we can of the Turkish Cypriots to make their voices heard to international actors. So uniting the Turkish Cypriots is the first, and lobbying international actors is our second objective. We have a very good website on www.atcanews.org, and we are also on Facebook, and all our activities that we've ever done can be found there. But can I, if you don't mind, John, just mention a few of our latest activities? It's very important for us.
Please do.
The last thing that we have done is actually in Australia. Serkan Hussein and the committee down under played a key role in organising a Turkish Cypriot culture festival which commemorated the 70th years of emigrating from the from Cyprus to Australia.
Yeah, I saw that.
And it was a fantastic organisation. We commend, we congratulate all of them, all the people that took part in the organisation. Unfortunately, we were unable to go, but it was fantastic to see 10,000 people for Melbourne, which was a record-breaking turnout, for people to enjoy their togetherness, solidarity, and show Australian politicians the presence of Turkish Cypriots, the contributions made by Turkish Cypriot to Australian society. That was one of the things that we were involved with lately. And the second one, which I'm sure we'll be talking about shortly, is regards to football. There's been an issue with regards to the CONIFA World Football Cup, which will be held in London.
Right, before you go into any more detail...
That's our second most active.
Right, so let's talk about this. This is quite interesting now. I remember CONIFA, and was it last year, there were some matches held in the TRNC, weren't there? Tell us a bit about CONIFA, because isn't it not like the World Cup, but for the countries who are not able to be in the World Cup?
Absolutely. It's the Confederation of Football Associations which are not members of FIFA, i.e. countries or territories or areas which are not recognised or members of FIFA. This is an alternative platform for those places to play football. Right. It offers a platform for such countries, for such places.
So obviously the TRNC is in that group of teams. But which other countries are represented? I mean, it's quite unusual.
You have many. You have Tibet. You have part of the United Kingdom, the Isle of Man, if I'm not mistaken. They were involved as well. You have different countries from northern Italy, all sorts. You have different countries that are involved. So you have an Armenian country there, a team there, and all sorts of things. But the main point here is that CONIFA provides a platform for different teams, different parts of the world. They represent some 3 million people, I understand. So it's important for people to come there.
And so, at the moment, in May and June, we have their World Cup.
Absolutely.
Taking place in the UK, in London. And there is an issue at the moment that you have highlighted under the banner of ATCA. I know that you've been speaking to Haringey Council, yes?
Enfield.
I mean, sorry, Enfield. And because there are certain things here, the TRNC national team is going to be playing, and obviously some people in the UK are opposing this.
Absolutely. If we just wrap it up in a nutshell, John, just to explain to our viewers.
Right here, you tell us the story.
It's okay. Just to explain to our viewers that the TRNC football national team is to take part in the CONIFA World Football Cup, to be held at the end of May. It starts on the 29th of May and it will continue until the 9th of June. And what's happened is you've had the National Federation of Cypriots in the UK, which is a Greek Cypriot federation, and also the Lobby for Cyprus, which is another lobby group of the Greek Cypriots in the UK, lobbying Enfield Council, saying that the Queen Elizabeth II Stadium, which is the stadium that has been hired out to CONIFA for the World Cup.
That's hosting the World Cup.
Yep. To basically, they're saying, Enfield Council, you should not be allowing, quotes, an illegal team to play in the stadium. So once, obviously, we got hold of the letter that they sent, ATCA also wrote a counter letter to the claims made by the Greek Cypriots. And in our letter, in a nutshell, we said that it's a human rights issue to play sports. Secondly, we said that sports and politics should not be mixed. And thirdly, and most importantly, I'd like to emphasize what we said in our letter is that Enfield Council does not have any legal relationship, does not have any contractual relationship with the TRNC football national team. Therefore, it is not up to Enfield Council to allow or not allow the TRNC football national team from playing at the stadium, as alleged by the Greek Cypriot organisations. We sent the letter, and I'd like to share for the first time, perhaps on television, a response we got from Jeremy Chambers, who is the Director of Law and Governance of Enfield Council. And he says, having considered your letter on the matter, it is my view as the Council's Director of Law and Governance that the Council does not have any power over the way the club is run, so any matters or issues which may rise would need to be addressed directly to the club rather than Enfield Council. Now, this is a major success of lobbying. Turkish Cypriot associations, organisations should be coming together, and any allegation made by Greek Cypriot organisations to ban our youth, to ban football teams of North Cyprus from playing in the UK, we should come together and we should lobby together and put forward our view why Turkish Cypriots should be playing, why they should be allowed. And we explained the reasons, and I'm delighted that Enfield Council agreed with ATCA's letter, with our viewpoints. They have no power to stop the team from playing in the Queen Elizabeth II Stadium. Why? Because the stadium has been leased out for a period of 99 years on a long-term lease to the Enfield Town Football Club, and they have in turn leased the stadium to CONIFA for the World Football Cup. So therefore, Enfield does not have any jurisdiction, does not have any legal power to stop the TRNC or any other football team from playing in the stadium.
Even Enfield Football Club itself, who have leased the stadium itself, they cannot now turn around and say to CONIFA, no, you are not allowed to allow Turkish...
We haven't seen the exact agreement that has been made between the Enfield club and CONIFA, but one would assume that no such condition was put forward in the contract that has been made. I mean, CONIFA is about football teams who are not members of FIFA. Perhaps all of them would have some sort of a dispute internationally, but you cannot mix politics into every single conflict to prevent a football team from playing. Sports is about bringing people together, about bringing the different cultures to embrace one another.
Yes.
And we should really be focusing on that.
That is a very important point, Kerem. And I have to say that it's times like this when, again, the issue of, you know, unfairness and embargoes on Turkish Cypriots, when it comes to sport, it touches a lot of people's hearts because, you know, there are a lot of people who enjoy football, a lot of youngsters who play football here who want to be represented or want to represent their own country internationally or want to be able to play at an international level but are unable to. So, again, this you know, calling for World Cup is very, very, I'm sure it's going to be very, very sore point for some people if things go wrong in any direction, whether they do play or they don't play. There's going to be a lot of things going on, lots of controversy, I'm sure, over this. I know that when we were talking off air, when we were chatting on the phone before, Kerem, that you were saying about, you know, people buying tickets for the matches, to watch the matches there. And we've got lots of Turkish Cypriots living in the UK.
That's
London,
absolutely a fundamental point.
Now, obviously, tickets are on sale to go to the matches where maybe the national team or
a call has been made from the Cyprus Turkish Football Association here, the KTFF, specifically Orçun Kamalı, who's very active in trying to promote the games and promote Turkish Cypriots living in the UK. They want people to turn out and support the TRNC football national football team. It's very important that Turkish Cypriots living in London, in the UK, go and we stop any attempts to stop our national team from playing at this stadium, okay? Secondly, go with our flags and support our team, support our youth. They are there to represent North Cyprus. And the call has been made. Tickets can be bought on the Conifer website, very, very cheap as well, may I add. It's something like £10. So it's very important that people buy tickets, go there with their families, enjoy themselves and watch the game. That's what we want. This is sports at the end of it. It's about enjoyment as well.
Of course. So if anyone watching now, be it here in the TRNC who's going back to the UK later on in the month, or anyone watching in the UK at the moment, if they go into the Conifer, which is spelt with a C, by the way, C-O-N-I-F-A.
That's correct.
If they go into Conifer's website, they can get all the fixtures, they can find out what times, when the matches are on, the first matches, obviously, as the you know, tournament progresses, who's going to be staying in, who's going to be knocked out, we don't know. But at the beginning, we know the fixtures, so please, if you are a football fan, or even if you're not a football fan, but want to support your country, the TRNC, then go on to Conifer's website and get your tickets now. As you said, very, very cheap, you know, £10 sterling.
£10 for a fantastic day out, watching you know, something extraordinary. This is the World Cup that the TRNC will be taking part in the heart of London, in Enfield, with the heartland of Turkish Cypriots. And we hope that our people, our public, go there and support the TRNC football national team.
Kerem, I want to ask you, you know, you've lived in the UK, you were brought up in the UK just like me, and you've come back to the TRNC, and there are many, many, many Turkish Cypriots living in the UK still at the moment. And you are trying to lobby, you're trying to, you know, get the voice of the TRNC heard out there. ATCA has been around for many years. Is it important for ATCA, because, you know, you're talking about Turkish Cypriots abroad, outside of North Cyprus, people, Turkish Cypriots in Australia, in America, in the UK, are they our voice out there? Should they be doing more for us out there? Or do you think that maybe even us here, us Turkish Cypriots, we're quite complacent, we're sitting here, we're waiting for things to happen, our politicians to find a solution? What can we do? I mean, ATCA is very strong. As you say, you've got thousands of members across the world. But, you know, why is it that we still seem to be struggling to get that voice heard, where straight away, even with this, you know, the first letter actually came from the Greek Cypriots, not the Turkish Cypriots. They got in there first. They found out what was going on. They tried to stop the national team of the TRNC playing football, or they're trying to at the moment. Why is it that they're always there first? Why is it that we're trying to defend, always on the defence? What's happening? What can we do?
I think the answer to your question lies with regards to organisation, discipline and finance. Quite frankly, it's very important to have the correct finance when it comes to lobbying internationally. You've got to be consistent and you have to know how to lobby as well. The Greek Cypriots are very, on this issue, they're very professional. They employ professional companies. Their federations and associations and groups are very active. They believe in their cause and they won't give an inch when it comes to their national cause. As far as they're concerned, Cyprus is under, as they allege, under occupation. But Turkish Cypriots, we are very living in comfort zone in a way. We are not so politically inclined. We are unable to appreciate and understand the importance of lobbying, I think. That's a very important issue there. It's about raising awareness so that people, and specifically the youth, understand the need to lobby, the need to take some responsibility, not to expect everything to come from the state. Although we do need the state to back to a certain degree, to use different channels of support. This is absolutely essential in lobbying. The Greek Cypriots have state support when it comes to lobbying. The Turkish Cypriots, all out there in the UK, in Australia, in the US, everyone is trying to do things voluntarily. Turkish schools, lobbying, charity work, everything. All the organisations over there outside the TRNC are trying to do things on a voluntary basis. So I think it's an issue of Turkish Cypriots re-evaluating the importance of lobbying and actually seeing the results of good lobbying, bearing the fruit. For example, the football issue. ATCA wrote one simple letter, and we have, I'm not saying the reason that Enfield Council has decided is solely based on Atga's letter, I'm not saying that at all. However, I do believe we were influential in that decision. We had strong arguments there were legal arguments there, and I believe that it was very influential in Enfield Council saying, yes, we do not have the power to stop the TRNC national team from playing. Another issue which is very important right now is Ercan Airport. As you know, the UK government has asked one of the airlines flying from Ercan to London for people to disembark in Turkey to go through security screening once again. Now this is very important, and Turkish Cypriot groups abroad, specifically the Council of Turkish Cypriot Associations, they are very active in speaking with British officials. We have been writing also to Chris Grayling, the Transport Secretary, and have had the first response from Chris Grayling in relation to the security concerns of the UK, why they've asked Turkey or the Turkish authorities to get people off the plane to disembark in a Turkish airport to go through re-screening because they do not recognise Ercan Airport, because we are not recognised. So now ATCA is, and along with other groups, we're lobbying for this. But if we do not come together and see that if you do not come together and lobby together in a consistent way to put forward your views and your voices of the injustices, then nothing will change. There's no point in sitting back and thinking, there's no point in lobbying, you know, nothing will change. If you have that kind of mentality, nothing will ever change for Turkish Cypriots.
Of course.
So this is one problem that we do have, I'm afraid.
But this is a step back from before, where we used to fly, even though we had to touch down in Turkey, we never used to have to disembark, or maybe we used to, but we never used to go through customs again, or go through passport control. But now...
You could wait in the aircraft. You could wait in the aircraft. Half an hour in the aircraft.
But now
you have to get off the plane.
You've got to get off the plane, go through all the carrying baggage, put the baggage on again, go through passport control, get your next flight again.
Absolutely. So this is an issue that we are taking up with British officials. We've written letters to Boris Johnson as well recently, may I add, asking him, you know, what's happening on this, what exactly is happening. We understand from certain members of the Turkish Cypriot authorities in government, specifically the former president of the Cyprus Turkish Chamber of Commerce, Fikri Toros, that some proposal had been made to have some internationally accredited security company, and would that be acceptable to the British authorities, and the British authorities were to discuss this or so forth. But nothing has happened, I'm afraid, on this issue ever since. Tangible results. We want tangible results, and whatever the decision is from London, it should be made public. And Turkish Cypriot authorities, remember, John, very important issue is there is no domestic law in England which prevents cooperation between security forces or the police in England and the security forces stroke police in the TRNC. This is actually English case law. This was decided fairly recently, last year in fact. So this is actually an existing case law. They can cooperate. If there is goodwill, there is a way around it. You do not have to recognize Ercan airports, perhaps, but you can definitely cooperate on security issues. If you have a genuine concern of terrorism, which is what they've been saying, then this is an issue that you should be able to take up with Turkish Cypriot authorities. It doesn't constitute any form of recognition.
Yeah. Very interesting to know about that. But you know, when we're thinking of going a step forward and looking for direct flights, now we're a step backwards and making it even more difficult for people to fly to and from the UK. Yeah. Which comes to my next question, which you wanted us to discuss, which was that Foreign Minister Kudret Özersay, his project for Turkish Cypriots abroad and how to encourage them to move back to the TRNC. And what is the views of ATCA on this? Now, it would be a dream for more youngsters. I say youngsters because I was young when I came here 24 years ago. I was 23 when I came. And you know, for more young people, more fresh blood to come to the TRNC, like you, like me, who feel the love for the island. But a lot of people don't want to come back here. There's no future, they say, blah, blah, blah. That's all very, you know, individual choices there. But what is the incentive? When we look at what's going on the island now and, you know, what is the future for youngsters? I mean, okay, there is a lot of opportunity. Maybe when you look at about 20 years ago, how things were, there weren't any schools that were private, no education in English, but now we have English schools. So maybe youngsters can now learn English as well as Turkish. There's an opportunity to cross the border. The border's opened since 2004. So, you know, again, things are a bit more lively than they were 20, 25 years ago. But, again, why should somebody who graduated from the UK, brought up in the UK, Turkish Cypriot family, why would they come back at the age of 23, 24, 25? What is ATCA's stance on this, as a man who's gone through this himself?
Yep, this is a fantastic question, by the way, John. This is an issue which we place great importance on. Foreign Minister Kudret Özersay has unveiled a plan to give encouragement to Turkish Cypriots living abroad to move back to the TRNC. And he has said that he is working on a project for Turkish Cypriots abroad to move back to their homeland. We salute this, we welcome this as ATCA. We have already spoken with the Foreign Minister, we've had a verbal discussion with him, and we will be putting our recommendations and our own views in writing to him in due course. However, I'd like to say that based on the feedback we've had from our members, based on the stories that I've been doing as well in Cyprus today, there've been a mixture of views. Firstly, everyone welcomes this initiative, but secondly, they want to see exactly what the encouragement, the incentives, what sort of encouragements, what sort of measures are being taken in this package that they are working on. But the first and foremost main concern of Turkish Cypriots living abroad at the ages of 23, 24, 25, what can it be? Employment.
Yes.
Moving back to North Cyprus, what sort of employment conditions will there be? Will there be protections with regards to employment? How will they make a living? This is the most important, most pressing issue which faces any Turkish Cypriot, especially if they are young, from moving back to North Cyprus. It's an incredible issue to tackle by any means, but it's a very important issue. It's good that we have government ministers thinking, at least, because we've been lobbying for many years for this. It has not been easy to get to this point, but at least it's a step in the right direction. What sort of measures can be taken to encourage Turkish Cypriots to move back? So we're saying employment. Secondly, housing issues. So people moving here, we all know, John, you're in the same sector, property problems.
Yes.
We need safeguards. We need to minimize any risk of property problems of people who move here, who want to buy a house here, or even to enable them to go on the property ladder in North Cyprus. These are the sort of things that are needed to be discussed. The government needs to really look into this to minimize any problems, because if one person, two people, three people, if people come here and go through these sort of problems, news will spread and others will be shy to move back, they'll be hesitant to move back. So we don't want to start off with a mistake on the wrong footing. We want to start with a positive move. That's the second issue. The third issue is perhaps the fact that Turkish Cypriots who live abroad will make comparisons with regards to the system in the UK, for example. You have a fantastic system over there. You have a discipline, you have a system that works, and people will be looking to see, if I move to North Cyprus, will I have
a similar system?
A similar system, which we do not have at present, but at least the government can look to bettering it, to make it more appealing, more attractive for Turkish Cypriots to move back. The health service, the education, all these are issues that, basic issues that any family, any person will look at. So as you said, schools here, they have very good English schools, they have good schools, the education system is not bad.
Yeah, I mean, even the state schools, I shouldn't, being fair here, you know, the state schools are very good as well, but I'm thinking of maybe bringing children over who don't know Turkish very well.
Absolutely.
There are schools here.
So these need to be explained to our public, our people abroad, that this is how it is in North Cyprus. The education system is actually good. The health system is well, it can be improved, it can be bettered. However, it's not actually that bad. I compare it quite frequently to the National Health Service, the NHS. And I know for full well that someone who has cancer can be made to wait for months on end to get their treatment.
Whereas
so here it's very fast. You have a fantastic oncology unit here, almost immediate. But when I explain this to people abroad, they're like, really, is that really how it is? Or of course it is. I mean, it's been fantastic work going on here, you know, for things like that. So these need to be explained to our public. So we want to tell the minister, yes, we support him in his initiative, but also there is a need to carry out a census, Can. How many Turkish Cypriots live abroad? Do we know for a fact? Scientific statistics, a survey of some sort. Do we know how many Turkish Cypriots live abroad? We do not know. So we need some sort of a census to make planning, statistical planning for people. So we can't plan a project when we do not know exactly how many Turkish Cypriots are living abroad. This is something that we need. And another thing that we want, most importantly, under this project perhaps, is the right to vote of Turkish Cypriots. It's very important.
Those who live abroad?
Those who live abroad should have a say, should be able to elect and be elected into the TRNC Parliament. Now, when we say this, some people here, some politicians here say, but there are more Turkish Cypriots living abroad, and it would somehow suppress the political will of people living in North Cyprus. And our recommendation to that is, have a set number of MPs, 2 MPs or 3 MPs that people can vote for. So allocate 2 to 3 MPs in the 50-seat parliament that we have in the TRNC thing, so that they can be represented. It will make the government more accountable. It will make Turkish Cypriots come together with and ask for the politicians to account for their actions, to hold them accountable. It's a win-win situation which the politicians here should look at. And finally, one more thing is concerning lobbying, supporting lobby groups abroad. Perhaps in this project of Kudret, they should actually add a clause which says, yes, lobby groups abroad should be supported. We will offer X, Y, Z sort of support for them. It's very important for lobbying, and that could actually come under this project as well.
Very interesting news there that I never knew about before, but especially the representing in the Parliament, 50 seats, maybe 1 seat could be given to a representative of the UK, 1 in America, 1 in Australia. There are 3 major countries where Turkish Cypriots migrated to years ago. So maybe 3 seats could be given to one each.
These are all proposals. They're brainstorming proposals. We've made to Kudret as well. Obviously, he says it's a very big issue because the former Foreign Minister Tahsin Ertuğrul, whom I spoke with, said it's a very complicated issue actually because we don't know exactly how many Turkish Cypriots live abroad. Secondly, he says there are even more Turkish Cypriots living in Turkey than in the UK. So he said we need to find out how many they are and how we would address that problem. And thirdly, he said, how would voting take place? If we were to set up ballot boxes in London, for example, would the authorities there allow such a thing? So these are the kind of issues that politicians here are debating, but we as Turkish Cypriot associations, the people I see, I always raise this issue. They come to our workplace, we go and visit them at their ministries. We always say, Turkish Cypriots abroad, they are a part of North Cyprus. They should not be seen as separate entities. They have families here, they have properties here, they love North Cyprus, they care for North Cyprus, and they should be participating in the instruments in politics here.
Very interesting words from you there, Kerem. And finally, because we are running out of time, we only have a few minutes left before the end of the programme, but I want to summarise, as the chief reporter for Cyprus Today, and I think you're very well suited. You've got a background in law, you are a lobbyist, you are part of ATCA, you've got your finger on the pulse, you meet with people, as you said, media, working in the media, you get to hear about everything that's going on and meet with various people from different walks of life. At the moment, what are your views on the Cyprus situation? And, it's very, talks are starting, again, hopes will be raised again. What is happening? Very, very briefly, I know we shouldn't really keep it brief because it's a long, big issue, but this programme...
50 years into a few
50
minutes.
years to talk about this. Yeah. But Kerem, this isn't a political programme, but as a view, I trust your view as a journalist for Cyprus Today newspaper. Just very briefly, what are your, last comments
the latest? How many minutes do we have, John?
You've got about 5 minutes.
5 minutes. Okay, I'll keep it as short as I can. The latest today, obviously, when this program is recorded, is that President Mustafa Akıncı has actually made a proposal. He's made a call to Greek Cypriot leader Nikos Anastasiades to accept undiluted and unwatered and untouched what's called the Guterres framework, which was the framework, some proposals put forward by the United Nations Secretary General in Crans-Montana, which led to the collapse of peace talks, as we know, in July. And he's asked the Greek Cypriot leader to accept the proposals, to accept the framework as they are, and resume the negotiations, in short. But what's happened is the Foreign Minister, Kudret Özersay, has come out today, and he's actually saying that he was not aware of the proposals. He found out from the press reports. We've had the Turkish Foreign Ministry that also made a statement just a short while ago, actually, saying that a federal solution is no longer possible because the Greek Cypriots need to change their mentality. There is a problem in Greek Cypriot acceptance of Turkish Cypriots as political equals in Cyprus, to have a partnership state formed with them, established with them. And Crans-Montana, Mr. Akıncı had described as being the last station. He said this was the final station. If we do not reach an agreement here, then an alternative will be sought. And ever since then, over the period of something like 10 months now, all the politicians from left to right in North Cyprus and in Turkey have said the Greek Cypriots need to change their mentality. They are continuing their hydrocarbon works, they're continuing work outside Cyprus, ignoring the rights of Turkish Cypriots. There is a need to change their mentality. Suddenly, Mr. Akıncı comes and says, right, I'm making this call, accept this Guterres framework. Now remember, John, this framework was put forward on the day the talks collapsed, at the time when the talks collapsed. So with the collapse, this document is called a non-paper, which means it's not even an official document. It was a non-paper of proposals by the UN aimed at salvaging the talks, but it did not work. So this has happened, we've come all this way. Now what's being spoken about, as we know, former parliamentary speaker Sibel Siber has come vocal this week, talking on the need to look at different plans for the Turkish Cypriots, an alternative roadmap for the Turkish Cypriots, possibly a confederation or two states to be spoken about. She says it's not a taboo, it should be discussed from now on. Turkish Cypriot politicians, many of them are now saying behind closed doors, perhaps we should start looking at alternatives for Turkish Cypriots. We should not imprison ourselves for a federal solution. Open-ended process, never-ending process. It's been 50 years of peace talks and we haven't got nowhere. So it's time that Turkish Cypriots, who also said yes to the Annan plan, they did everything possible for a comprehensive solution. Yeah. President Mustafa Akıncı without a question, without doubt, has done everything possible to reach a comprehensive solution. But the Greek Cypriots demand more. They say they won't accept Turkish guarantees, they won't accept bizonality as we want it, i.e. where Turkish Cypriots have majority ownership in property in North Cyprus, and also in terms of representation as well. So all these are not being accepted by Greek Cypriots. They're not accepting primary law of the EU, which is obviously very important, so that once the agreement is made, the European Court of Justice cannot break the agreement. It's very important. And primary law, and of course permanent derogations to ensure that our population, our property ownership is protected in North Cyprus. Now there's so much dispute going on, John, and in the midst of all this, despite President Akıncı saying Crans-Montana was the last station, despite Mr. Akıncı saying the Greek Cypriots are not ready for a solution based on equality, political equality and partnership, why has Mr. Akıncı suddenly come out and said, actually, do you accept this Guterres agreement, yes or no? Now, because of this, we are in a situation where, what do we do now? This is what's going on whilst we're recording this program. I know we've run out of time as well. But thank you very much for accepting me today, John.
Well, you summarised everything very beautifully there. Thank you, Kerem, for all of that. I know there's a lot more depth into that than you've given there, but you've summarised everything very well for us. And I just wish that everyone finds that the solution that they want. We'll be reading your paper to make sure that we keep ourselves informed. Thank you for informing us on Cyprus Day and being a reporter for them, the chief reporter. We thank you for all your work with ATCA, and I hope that all your lobbying, and hopefully they have a very safe and happy Conifer tournament.
Absolutely. Please make a call again, John, for people to come buy the tickets and go and see the match.
Go and see Conifer. Let's talk about nice things on the island of Cyprus, because it is a beautiful island. But thank you, chief reporter, lawyer, ATCA representative Kerem Hassan was my guest today on A Cup of Conversation. Thank you for watching this programme. Until next time we meet, go well and take care. Goodbye.